If anyone ever told you betting the NFL playoffs was tough, well, they're telling you the truth. I mean, think about it. What other sport is even nearly as popular as the NFL in America? What sport has even close to as much money wagered on it as the NFL? Now, think about that once you get to the postseason. But that's okay, because we got spots and we're going to pick them. That's the most important thing. You're not just spraying on every single bet. Of course not. You've got 6 games for Wild Card Weekend. 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 to cap it off on Monday. We're going to find the spots we like most right here in today's video. Picks for every game heading into Wild Card Weekend. So sit back, buckle up. Let's make it happen, baby. Hey, Dave Loughy here on Twitter at Loughy_D. Hit your boy up if you haven't done so yet. And if you don't mind, help me feed the algorithm around these parts. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It's 100% free to do so, and leave a comment down below. As you guys know, I try and read and respond to all of them. Appreciate your opinions and your thoughts on every week of football. Now let's get into it. Kicking it off with Saturday, we've got 2, like I said, starting with the Chargers and the Texans. Chargers are 3-point road dogs at the Texans, 42.5-point total. You know, I mentioned in last week's video, by the way, we did not have the best week to close out the regular season. We were on an absolute heater. Week 17 it was a fantastic week. Last week, some of the spots we liked most, like this Texans spot, they hit. But other spots, particularly the big favorites, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Kind of just riding the wave at that point. Did not pan out so well, but it is what it is. We work our way into the postseason. We're going to have some weeks like that, right? But again, that's why we want to find spots that we like more than others and not worry about just spreading bets out everywhere. I mentioned last week, I really wanted Houston get off to a hot start. And if they did, I'd expect them to pull their starters. Would it have made a difference? Probably not. But we went with the Texans first half, right? It was -0.5 point. We got it at plus 118 as well. So that was solid. And that was right on the money. Mostly just because it was pretty evident that DeMeco Ryans was totally unhappy with the way that this team has played over the past few weeks. I mean, they got absolutely shit on Christmas Day against the Baltimore Ravens. You simply can't rest all your starters limp into the playoffs like that. Absolutely not. I like what I saw last week, albeit against a lifeless Titans squad, but you know what? You play who you play. And the Titans beat them only a few weeks back as well. I also like the Chargers. Look, I've liked them all season. I bet the alt win total on them over 10.5 wins. They had a super easy schedule. Jim Harbaugh is a fantastic coach. And listen, Justin Herbert's an awesome quarterback with the right coaching. We've seen that. Very, very prevalent all season long. But I think there may be slightly too much recency bias here, making them 3-point favorites on the road. It's still a playoff game, okay? The Texans, while they have definitely struggled to protect C.J. Stroud, that's been one of the biggest issues. They lost Tank Dell. All of those things are a problem. That's why we're not betting them to win here. A lot of question marks. I still look at this and I think there's a little bit of recency bias with them being 3-point home dog. Because you look at the Chargers. Defensively, when they faced good offenses, they haven't exactly just flourished. You know, we saw the Tampa Bay Bucks come out there and smoke them. Right? Absolutely tune them up. That game was in LA too, wasn't it? Yeah, it was in LA. They beat the Broncos, but gave up 27 points. You look at, okay, New England, they crushed them. They faced a lot of offenses that just really haven't been all that impressive. Now you get a Houston team. I'm not saying this is a particularly impressive offense, but you still got the likes of Mixon and Nico Collins, and CJ Stroud hopefully isn't as bad as we've seen in recent weeks. The Chargers also can't run the football. So here's what I'm saying. I just think this is a more evenly matched game than we've got right now. It's a competitive spot. It's in Houston. So backing the 3-point home dog to me feels like a spot I like. Plus, there's some trends suggesting that teams who did not make the playoffs the previous season are much less successful against the spread in these spots. That works for us as well. Give me Houston +3 here at home. Steelers at the Ravens. There are some 9.5s out there. There are some 10s out there, depending on what side you want. I'll say this every time. If you're betting on football, remember we opened this video saying it's betting football is difficult, okay? Like if you bet the Steelers last week and waited till it got to 2.5, you won that bet. They lost by 2. If you found the 1.5 somewhere or the 2 was out there when there were 2.5s, you either lost or you pushed when you could have gotten the 2.5 and won. Same thing for the Bengals. You bet them at 2.5, you lost. If you got that at 1.5, you won. Or even if there was a 2, you pushed, fine. It's still not a loss. What I mean, Be on as many sports books as possible. Never do yourself the massive disservice of losing a bet to the hook or 1 point because you decided that you only like to bet on one book. Bet365 is one of them, and you're getting $150 in bonus bets instantly upon depositing $10 and betting $5. That's it. So if you're in any of those states, something to keep in mind. The link for that to get that promo bonus is in the description. It's in the pinned comment. You sign up, takes a minute to instantly verify yourself. Deposit 10, bet 5 on literally whatever it is you want. Doesn't even have to be NFL. And the moment that bet is settled, $150 in bonus bets are injected into your account. It's that, but it's also be smart. Make sure you're on as many books as possible to always take advantage of the best odds. Links down there too if you want to check it out. 21 years or older to gamble. Gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's talk Steelers-Ravens. 9.5 points. Ravens are favored at home. 43.5 point total. Look, I always want to back the Steelers as divisional dogs on the road like this, especially knowing their last 4 matchups have been brutal, right? Like Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, a desperate Bengals team. And I figure Tomlin's squad, will be able to keep things respectable in the postseason. But I was actually pretty surprised to see that, the last 3 years they've been in the playoffs, the Steelers have lost by double digits in all of them. I don't love laying big points on Lamar, particularly in the postseason. You guys already know that. But, the Steelers just simply cannot move the football. They averaged 14 points per game over this 4-game losing streak to limp into the postseason. And now George Pickens seems like he's on the brink of pulling an Antonio Brown, throwing his jersey into the stands and leaving through the tunnel at halftime. It's tough. I don't expect Zay Flowers to play either. He seems doubtful for sure. And, there's some question marks here one way or another, but I don't expect him to play. The Ravens still have some good weapons, and Lamar Jackson's an X factor for sure. But the one way that the Steelers keep this competitive is do what they did earlier in the season. Remember, these teams split the season series. Ravens took care of business easy last time, but the time before that, they were held to 17 points, I believe it was. If the Steelers put the clamps down and the defense shows up, and you don't let Lamar run all over you, this ends up being a competitive game. But this is why I'm not looking to go Ravens or Steelers here. I think a good amount of sharp money is going to come in on the Steelers when you get them at 10, right? Double-digit dogs in the postseason. I would rather just take the under. Do you know Lamar Jackson in the playoff games that he has played? He is 0-4-1 to the over. So 4-0-1 to the under. In all of those games, the only time he hasn't gone under, and this was a push, right, was last year when they routed Houston. He hasn't had a single game that's gone over that he's played in the postseason. I like the under 44 here and already bet it. Give me under 44 in an AFC North cold weather game. Yeah, for sure, in the postseason. That's where I'm going with that. Broncos at the Bills, 8.5 points. Bills favored at home, 46.5 point total. Look, I've seen a lot of people go both ways on this, and I'm not really surprised. Matter of fact, my buddy Ben Rasa, who I do all of our DFS shows with, one of the sharpest people I know from a betting standpoint. You get his Ben's Bet here every morning on the Odd Shopper channel. I know he feels this could be a tough game for the Bills. He said, and I don't disagree, like this could be the game where the Bills just rout them, or the the Broncos come in and really surprise them. I see it a little bit differently. On one hand, Sean Payton's a great coach, and the Broncos have done a stellar job, particularly covering the spread this year. On the other hand, you have a rookie quarterback and a largely young, inexperienced football team who many of the starters will be making their first playoff appearance in Buffalo, right? Against a highly experienced Buffalo team. I love Bo Nix, and this team clearly has a bright future, but 8.5, and I know it's a big number against the Broncos team that stayed competitive against really everybody outside of that one drubbing in Baltimore this season. Not to mention, it's a talented defense, particularly in the secondary. But the experience of Josh Allen, the experience of this Bills team in general in the postseason and a home game, it's got me leaning Buffalo here. It's not my favorite game because it is a big number, but the lean right now is going to be the Bills. I haven't bet this game yet. I'm not sure I will, but at 8.5, I think I got to lean Bills here, just given the experience alone. Look, maybe that's the lazy outlook on this, the lazy take, but I'm not sure where else you go here. If you like the Broncos because they've been great against the spread, you just bet the Broncos, but it's a super inexperienced football team heading into Buffalo for their first taste of playoff football. Give me Bills minus 8.5. That's a lean. Packers at the Eagles. Eagles minus 4.5 at home, 45.5 point total. It's Wednesday as I record this video. It's Wednesday at 1:30 Eastern time, and Jalen Hurts is practicing. I fully expect him to clear the concussion protocol and play on Sunday. Do you guys remember in 2020, by the way, this is not a political take, don't worry. You remember in 2020, the COVID year, players left and right were getting ruled out due to COVID, right? Just left and right. I remember saying, and video pretty much everywhere, that watch, no key player will get ruled out in the postseason due to COVID. Just no chance, right? Just no chance at all. And they didn't. Of course, you're going to rule Tom Brady out in the Super Bowl? Of course not, right? Now, this is different because it's a concussion, and sure, there's protocol, but there was testing protocol for COVID as well. What I'm saying here is that the league wants Jalen Hurts to play in this game. That's, I don't even know why I'm saying this, because he's going to pass it anyway. This happened in week 16. What I'm saying ultimately is that overall, money's the only thing that matters. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but I definitely think the league wants to get the best guys on the field, at any means necessary when they can. And Hurts is going to be out there. If not, well, I'll eat my words, and you have it right here. But the starters have had a week to rest. None of them played last week. Most of them didn't play last week. They should be near full strength coming into this one. I expect Nakobe Dean to play. They got Dallas Goedert off the IR last week. He came out firing in the first quarter until they sat him. Both teams are used to playing in cold weather, so that's a non-factor. But Jordan Love suffered an elbow injury in that game, that loss to the Bears. He lost feeling in his throwing hand, but he said he would have been able to play. Matt LaFleur said he should be good. So that's probably also a non-factor. I will say, though, Christian Watson is out. They put Jair Alexander on the IR. Not that he'd been out there anyway. I do think there is a bit of an imbalance in talent here. The Packers have a great football team, no doubt, but the Eagles are strong at nearly every position. If Hurts limits the turnovers, which he's done, he's thrown only one interception, and he's had only 3 lost fumbles since week 4, which is pretty crazy given last season. Then the Eagles just set up nicely in this game. The real strength for the Packers has been their ability to run the ball and just run opposing teams into the ground, but Philly can stop the run. They can generate a lot of pressure too. Now it's just a matter of how this young secondary, alongside Darius Slay, holds up in their first place of playoff game. Overall, I think the advantage goes to Philly here. Give me the Eagles -4.5 at home. Commanders at the Bucs. All right, Bucs -3, 50.5 point total. I do like the Bucs here at home. They're the type of team that has these flat type of performances. Like we saw last week, they still won, or against the Cowboys. And then they come back the next week and they dominate, right? We saw what they did to Carolina in that spot after the Cowboys loss. And since they started getting healthy following that 4-game losing streak, right, where Godwin went down, Evans went down, defensive players went down, they lost key offensive linemen. They went on to win 6 of their final 7 games, many of them in straight blowout fashion. And Baker can, yes, be prone to some turnovers, but this guy has turned in a remarkable season. And when you consider how many of those games he had without key playmakers, without key players on all sides of the field, it's even more impressive. And then you've got Bucky Irving, who's just proving to be stellar. He's basically playing Rachaad White out of a job. The defense has more holes than they did in previous seasons, but you know what? This run D is still legit. Over the second half of the season, over their last 8 games, I should say, they allowed 60 rushing yards per game. And you know what? It's very possible. Let me know down below your thoughts on this one. I wouldn't blame you for taking the other side, because maybe I'm not giving the Commanders enough credit. It's entirely possible. They won 5 straight to close out the season, and Jaden Daniels has been fantastic in every situation, right? I remember thinking that first primetime game they had earlier in the year was actually against the Bengals. I laid, 5.5 or 6 on the Bengals. I was like, Bengals should take care of business here. No. Granted, I didn't know the Bengals defense would be as abysmal as they were, but you get the point. Jaden Daniels was awesome. I keep coming back to the experience here, though. Maybe that's just the angle I'll take this week. The Bucs routed the Eagles in the wild card round last year, and the Eagles, we knew they were lifeless coming into the year, but they stayed competitive against the Lions in that next game. As a field goal home favorite, this is just going to be my spot. Give me the Bucs -3. That's where I'm going. And we close this one out with Vikings -1.5 at the Rams, 47.5 point total. Maybe it's an overreaction to the embarrassing play of Sam Darnold against the Lions last week. Or maybe it's just the Vikings doing what the Vikings have done, or Sam Darnold doing what Sam Darnold has done for quite some time now, but I kind of like the Rams at home here. Great Granted, a home Rams team isn't the same as being like, man, you get the Bills at home, right, in front of a home crowd. And sure, the Vikings, they bought up a bunch of tickets to this game to try and have some type of presence and all that, fine. But the idea that Minnesota is coming off a tough loss, where all of their starters played essentially the full game, and the Rams starters, many of them, watched from the sidelines as Jimmy Garoppolo put on a decent show, I don't think that's insignificant. Both teams had a week 6 bye as well, which means that this is 13 straight weeks of football for the Vikings, for all of their starters. And I may be overreacting here, but you know what? Last week was a legitimate playoff game, playoff atmosphere. This wasn't just a regular season spot that I'm like cherry picking, right? That was for a round 1 bye, number 1 overall seed and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And now this is Sam Darnold's first postseason start of his career. I think he's had one play for his career or something. Now Matthew Stafford has not played well lately. I'm not saying he has, but he's had a full week. First of all, a ton of experience and a full week to rest, along with a lot of other starters as a home dog here against the massive question mark in Sam Darnold making his first postseason start. I have to take the Rams at +1.5. Appreciate you guys watching as always. If I were to order these, just talking which spots we like the most, I do like the under in the Steelers-Ravens game. I like the Texans. Like the Bills, like the Eagles, Bucks, and Rams. But if you're ordering them, I'd say priority spots, Rams, under on the Ravens, Steelers, and -3 on the Bucks. But I'm going to sprinkle on all of them. The one I haven't touched yet is the Bills. Anyway, appreciate you guys. I'll see you back here for the divisional round. And on Monday, we'll do an island video for that one, for that Rams game. We'll have some props, touchdown sides, all of that good stuff. So make sure to hang with me there as well. We'll see you back here for the next one. Peace.